Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be adding the raised platform to the expansion table here in the Lego City. So let's get started. All right, so I've talked about this in a couple of recent videos here, but this whole strip of green base plates here, as well as all of these buildings here, are going to get raised up to the height of the city here at the normal height. And then these 48 by 48 base plates down here are going to stay at this lower height here for the water, just to help create a nice bit of depth and a nice skyline and background for the entire city here. And I think this is a really good idea. And so I actually have a bunch of scrap wood that just happens to work out. And so the green base plates here and the Holiday Main Street set are going to sit on a 10-inch wide by 70-inch long piece of wood, which was an extra piece of wood from a different project. And so that is great. That just happens to work out perfectly. And then the Tudor Corner, the police station, the boutique hotel, along with the fountain and the building on the other side of the boutique hotel are going to get raised up as well. And that is going to sit on a different piece of wood that is 21 inches wide by 24 inches deep. So let's start cutting. All right, so this is some of the wood that we're going to be working with today. 7 of these pieces of wood are at the proper height for this woodworking project here, which is 3 13/16 of an inch tall. And the 8th piece is ever so slightly shorter here. That one is 1/8 of an inch shorter, coming in at 3 inches and 11/16 of an inch. But that is what this extra shim is for right here. This is actually a paint stirrer, which I just cut into this little square here, which if you place that on the edge of this shorter piece of wood here, you will notice that that is the exact height needed. So that's great. If you're ever in a pinch, paint stirrers are about 1/8 of an inch. So I guess that's a pro tip for you here. But that is what we're using for the legs. And I do still need to cut a couple extra legs because these 8 legs are for that 70-inch long piece of wood there. And then I'm going to cut this to make 2 legs for the other piece of wood here that's going to have the buildings on it. And then I'm going to need to cut a different piece of wood for 2 more legs. I might not end up using this, but I have this and it is pretty sturdy. It's 3/4 of an inch thick. So this is going to be way overkill for what we're doing here. But yeah, so I brought this out just in case we do end up needing it, but I'm going to save that for later. This I already went ahead and cut, obviously, but that is pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to get started. All right, so I'm starting with this long section of wood right here. And before I get started and screw all the legs in, I figured it'd be smart to place all the base plates on just to make sure that everything is, lined up properly, everything's at the right height. And it seems like everything is, which is good to see. And so, like I said, this base plate right here is hanging off by about 1 or 2 studs, which is not the end of the world. We're going to figure out this whole section in just a couple minutes here. But these other 6 base plates right here are all perfectly fine. This piece of wood, like I said earlier, was a piece of scrap wood from a different project, and it just happened to be 10 inches long, or 10 inches wide and about 70 inches long. So it worked out great, except it's a little bit warped. I've been trying to flatten it for a little bit now, and so it's not perfect, but I have the Orient Express on here, putting some extra weight on it, and I had a couple heavier things on it throughout the last couple hours here, just to help flatten it just a tiny bit more, and it seems to be working pretty good. The only thing is, as you guys can see by the platform here that I just temporarily put in, the platform here is slightly uneven, but that's not the end of the world. I'm not super worried about it, so I think it's fine. And as you guys can see, it looks fine and it looks good. And so I think we're ready to obviously take the base plates off and then screw the legs on, and then we can start talking about that section right there. All right, so I did go ahead and screw everything in, and I also put the stuff back on top just to show you guys how it all looks, and it looks pretty good, and so I am quite happy with this. The only thing is that this one corner here is a little bit warped more than the rest of the piece of wood, and so it does dip down ever so slightly over here, but that is not the end of the world. It is, livable. I would rather have that and then use this piece of wood that is for free. Essentially, I didn't have to go out and buy a new piece of wood, which I would have had to do otherwise. So I'm rolling with this. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And once you put some weight on it, the whole thing will flatten out, and hopefully this corner will raise up because it's bowed like this. That's an exaggeration, obviously. But once you flatten the middle, this end will hopefully come up even just a little bit. So not worried about it at all. It looks fine and it looks good, and that will not hinder any plans here. So that's not the end of the world. The only thing is that eventually before the end of the video, I'm going to take this base plate off and add the curtain because that section right there is missing it. So that was why I didn't do that on this bottom table here, because it would have gotten covered up by the top section anyways. So just have to do that, and then that will be all good. But now we can shift our attention over to here, and then we can figure out the proper dimensions of this, cut the wood, and then also figure out what we're doing back here. All right, so I'm starting off by removing the buildings over here, and then I'm going in and I'm pretty much just placing the stuff down just to see if it all is at the correct height here. Again, every piece of wood that I'm using in today's video is a bunch of scrap wood. So this project is costing me nothing, which is fantastic. So I'm extremely excited about this, and I hope you guys are too. But now let's check out this table in real time and see how it looks. All right, so here is the table in person here, and I actually think it looks pretty good. And like I said, the pieces of wood here are scrap wood. These two legs here are extras from the pieces that I cut for this middle section here. And then the other pieces under here, I don't know if you can see them, are just from a random piece of wood that I just had laying around. So this is great. This works out really, really good. And so now we can go ahead and place the buildings on and see how it all looks together. All right, so I put the buildings on, and this actually looks pretty good. I am quite happy with this. I do understand that this is hanging over. That is intentional. I have talked about that previously, but overall, I think this is really good, and this gives me space on the front here where this pencil is and the plate to add water and a cliff edge or like a retaining wall or something. And then over here is going to be the road, and then this will all be water and stuff like that. I did get a comment actually from on one of the videos the other day talking about how I should put the Ferris wheel at the lower height, and I actually think that's a great idea. I didn't think of that before, so we're going to try that before the end of the video here. But these buildings were actually where the Ferris wheel was originally, if you guys remember, and so I thought it looked good there, but you know, I like the buildings here better. And then I tried putting it over here at the same height as the buildings, and it just didn't look right to me. But the comment suggested that I put it down here, and actually I think that's a great idea, so we're actually going to try that now and see how that looks. All right, so here's the Ferris wheel placed in the city here, and so just for reference, this is what the buildings look like. And then if you take a step back here, if you're over by the clone base table, it actually looks pretty good, and I quite like it. It is a little bit close, like this is the road here, and then I have road plates right here. So the road would be about here, and then I'm thinking it would just be like a straight wall up and down, and then the Ferris wheel would be about there. Obviously, I can't put it right up against the other raised platform because of the carriages on the Ferris wheel, but this is what it looks like all together. And I have mixed feelings on this. To whoever suggested this, thank you. This was a great idea, but I don't know if this is what I want to end up doing, because when you take a step back here, the Ferris wheel is technically see-through, like you can kind of see through it, but you can't actually see what's going on unless you walk around and you come over this way. So I don't know how I feel about it. I don't want to move it out too much further than this, just because then that would just be wasted space back here. And it already takes up so much space as it is. And I don't want to put it out here just because then it's the same problem. And then, you know, right when you walk in the room here, you're going to just have this big Ferris wheel here, and then you can't see anything else behind it. So I think this has potential to be good. Like, you know, if the entrance to the room was back here, then maybe I would keep it, but I don't think I am going to. If you guys think I should keep it, let me know in the comment section below. I know the last time I talked about this, there was a number of you that said I should keep it or that I shouldn't keep it. And so I appreciate all the feedback, and I am trying to listen to everyone and try out all of these ideas that you guys are suggesting. But unfortunately, I don't think it's possible to keep the Ferris wheel in here without blocking too many things. And so for that reason, I think I'm going to take it out. But to whoever suggested putting it on the lower table, seriously, thank you. That was actually a great idea, and I hadn't thought of that before. So that was a really good idea. All right, so one last thing I wanted to do before I wrapped up today's video was to actually get the last section of tablecloth in here. So before, at the start of the video, this was not here, and so I went in and I added it. I did a different technique than I did for the other tablecloth on the main table and also on the expansion table here. For this, I went ahead and I wrapped it. I put it all the way up on the top of the table here, and then I just let it kind of fold down like this. And I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And then it just meets at the bottom here. It doesn't bother me that they're two separate pieces of fabric here. I think that looks fine. And for the other tables here, what I did was I did a different technique, which was actually folding the cloth in on itself and then stapling it and then having it drape down like that so you don't see the staples. But for this, I wanted it to come up a little bit just so you didn't see that edge, because this is pretty much right when you walk in the room, and that's one of the first things that you're going to see. So I wanted that to look pretty good. And then obviously once this is all, done, I guess, there will be Lego in front of this, so you won't see this wood and you won't see the base plate and you won't see anything like that. So as you guys can see, I put the Lego in the front just to kind of show you guys as an example that once the retaining wall or the rock edge or whatever is going to go here, once that gets in here, I think it's going to look really good and it's going to connect this down. And this is going to all look really good. But that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what I did, make sure to like the video and subscribe, as well as click the bell notifications so you don't miss any future uploads. If you guys have any feedback for me on the platforms here and also the technique used for the tablecloth and also any of these buildings that are up here and this whole area as a whole, because I've been going back and forth on it a lot recently. If you guys couldn't tell, I had the Ferris wheel and then I took it out and then I put it back and I rotated it and then I took it out and then I put these buildings here and I put more buildings and I took some out. And so I've been kind of going through all these different processes, but I hope it's kind of insightful to you guys on how at least I build a Lego city and how I kind of do this whole process here. But seriously, once again, thank you guys for watching. And just to plug it one more time, I know I've been doing it a couple times recently, but I did just make an Instagram account recently. I will put the link to it in the description down below. I am posting pictures of the city, more casual updates, and also some behind the scenes photos of projects that I'm working on. So if that's something that you're interested in, it is in the description down below. And also the other link down in the description is to become a channel member. I would really appreciate if you guys did that. In becoming a channel member, you would get access to members only videos and also early access to videos on the channel. And that would mean the world to me if you guys would do that. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.